Okay, welcome everyone to the 8th edition, I guess this is, of the NerveCenter Model Club. Today's topic, we're going to cover log file monitoring for alerting using a log file monitor that we have developed in-house, and a syslog listener that has actually been a part of NerveCenter for quite some time. I'm going to introduce you and turn you over to Bill Kuhn, who is one of our senior system engineers. He's been with us for almost a year now, and he's actually the one that developed the log monitor agent. So go ahead, Bill. Take it away.
Well, welcome everyone. NerveCenter is such a versatile framework that we're always finding new ways to use the product. Sometimes we hear from an existing customer that has come up with a use for NerveCenter that is, quite frankly, something we never dreamed of. Additionally, ideas are also driven by conversations with prospective customers who indicate, well, I'm looking for a way to do this or a way to monitor such and such. And even though it's not something listed on any sell sheet or anything that we've done before, we think to ourselves, well, I think we can make that happen, and we go to work and put together a proof of concept. So this is one type situation. So if you've been working with NerveCenter for any reasonable amount of time, you're probably aware that there is already a syslog receiver script that is included as a sample with the application package. This quite useful utility sits on your server with NerveCenter and listens for syslog messages and generates traps that can be utilized by NerveCenter. Recently, a potential customer came to us and indicated that the syslog monitoring functionality was quite interesting. However, they had some third-party proprietary applications running on Windows servers that didn't talk syslog. They only wrote status messages to flat files. Well, obviously, NerveCenter is ready to handle 80% of that situation right out of the box, but we needed a way to actually watch the flat file logs for new or additional information being appended. Now, a Unix or a Linux person would just say, yeah, I can just run the tail F command and see a continuous stream of new entries as they get appended to the file. But, how can you get that stream of new coming entries to kick off something, or better yet, leverage the power of NerveCenter models to manage the event? So, as we can see here in the diagram, we're going to basically show you how to do that today. And the one new piece that we're going to be talking about in the fray here is the LogAgent. And we created this LogAgent to extend the reach of NerveCenter. It's meant to be a small utility that sits on an application host machine to monitor a flat file for changes and pass newly appended entries onto a syslog server. The LogAgent is built with a Java runtime environment and can be deployed on Windows, Linux, Unix, or any other system supporting the JRE environment. Currently, it's coded for JRE 6 or higher. Now, I should also mention that you could do a similar type of situation if you actually had applications writing to the Windows event log itself. And there's actually a piece out there on Google Code that you can download that will be, do similar functionality as the LogAgent, but like I said, geared toward the Windows event log. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to do this end-to-end and set up everything from beginning to end. And so we're going to start with our application and application log file. So to start with, I have a log file, and it's named app-log-file.txt. And I look at my contents, and I have a handful of entries. And basically, for today's purposes, I'm going to simulate being the application. And so I can add new entries to our log file by just echoing a command to the file. And then if I go back up and look at the file again, I can see that my new entry got into the file. So it's this new entry here in the file that we want to actually catch and act upon. So let's go ahead and verify that NerveCenter first is going to be ready to receive these events. So I have my copy of NerveCenter running. And as we indicated before, the existing syslog listener translates everything to traps to come into NerveCenter. So first of all, you need to basically set up your trap mask to receive the incoming traps. So here I've defined a very simple trap mask. It's basically just going to listen to all the traps. And then based on when one comes in, it'll trigger off one simple trigger called all traps. Similarly, I have a model defined, and it's a very, very simple model again. And it's set up just when a trap comes in, just to move to the logging state and log the event. And then any subsequent traps coming in will just jump over and loop on the logging state. So we can just continuously receive traps and log them. Obviously, in the real world, you're going to actually put some additional logic and actually handle the traps yourself. I should also mention that in the sample area of your NerveCenter installation, there is a more elaborate model for dealing with syslog traps, and the associated trap mask actually is set up to decode all the bar binds, so you can actually pull meaningful information out of the trap that represents the syslog information that generated it. But for today's purposes, we're just going to keep it really, really simple. And in fact, we're just going to use the alarm summary window to show us when a new trap comes in. So let's verify first here that we have NerveCenter set up to receive these traps. So I'm going to jump out and run the trap gen command here in NerveCenter and verify that, yes, I can generate a trap that goes to NerveCenter and shows up here. So everything is working to this point. So let's go ahead and reset it, and we'll close that for now, and we'll proceed to the next step. The next step is going to basically set up our syslog listener. And like we said, the syslog listener is a script that comes with NerveCenter, and we can start it right up from the command line. But first of all, we're going to actually need to go ahead and take a look at the syslog listener and adjust the configuration. So within the script, you'll see a section of constants that define what where we're going to send traps. And basically here, we're going to define the location of our NerveCenter server, the community string, the port that traps are coming in on, the enterprise, the type of traps, etc. And then also there's a second section for actually configuring the syslog listener portion. And here I have it defined here again on my local machine using the standard syslog port of 514. And then I've also defined that I want to show information on the console here so that when something comes in, I can see what's going on for troubleshooting purposes. So once we have our syslog script configured, we can go ahead and run it. And for right now, it doesn't do anything, but it's listening and it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and set up the next step, which is actually our LogAgent utility. The LogAgent utility is actually driven by a property file where we can configure what we want to monitor. We're going to configure the application host name of our server, the actual log file that we want to monitor. This is the one we looked at a little earlier. Since we're in the Windows environment, we actually have to escape our backslashes with 2 slashes. And so, but our file is, as we saw earlier, in the root directory. We're configuring a read interval of 5 seconds, meaning we're just going to look at the file every 5 seconds for changes. And then we've defined an input filter. And basically, this is just a regex string that says, okay, I'm only going to pay attention to stuff that has the word error in caps. And again, just like on the syslog utility, we're also going to show our output on the console so we can see what's going on, and this for better troubleshooting. In the output configuration, we're going to basically identify the location of our syslog listener, and we're also going to define our error level. And basically, it doesn't matter what events or entries we read from our log file, but when we create a syslog and send it to our syslog listener, we're going to designate it as error. Currently within the application, there is only one designation allowed at a time. And then our syslog facility is defined as local 1. So we have a configuration ready to go. And so now let's go ahead and just open up another window and run the LogAgent utility. And I've got it running here. And since we turned on the Show on Console mode, I can see that I have showing the configuration. I'm using the LogAgent file. I've got a file here that I'm monitoring, which is the app log file.txt. And then I have my update interval. So now I'm ready to go. I have all the pieces in place, and we're actually ready to try everything out. So let's go ahead and let's go back to our original window where we're basically emulating our logging application. And let's go send a message to our log. So once we send our message, within 5 seconds, because that's our interval, it shows up here in the LogAgent as a message coming in. Now you'll notice that this is an info message. It has the text info in it. It doesn't say error anywhere on it. So we configured our LogAgent to pretty much ignore everything like that. And so nothing else happened down the line. Our syslog listener didn't get it, and NerveCenter didn't get it either. So let's go ahead and generate another message that we do expect to show up. Let's generate an error message that we can send to our log file. And now we get something going. We have our new message coming into the LogAgent, and it's an error message indicating application fault. Now you'll notice here on the left side, the LogAgent in debug mode here shows a minus or a plus sign. The minus sign indicates that, well, that message was received by the LogAgent, but it was filtered out by our input filter. The plus sign indicates, well, not only did we receive it, but it qualifies to be passed on. We see here in our syslog listener window that we actually received the syslog entry, and we're going to pass it on in the form of a trap to NerveCenter. And of course, you saw in NerveCenter here, we received the trap and moved into the logging state. And so end to end, we got it all working. We can go ahead and send another message just to make sure everything is still going. It'll just continue going and going. We'll see that the new messages came in here, qualified to be passed on, showed up in the syslog listener. And if we refresh NerveCenter, we see that we're now looping on a logging state. So there we have it, end to end. We've got all the pieces going from a local flat file being logged to by an application. In this case, it's me echoing a command to a log file. But it'll work with any type of application that sends messages to a flat file. Now, I went through this pretty fast, so I'll be sending out to all the registered attendees a link to download the document outlining what we went through today, as well as the actual LogAgent utility itself, so that you can take a look and utilize it in your environment and extend it to whatever your monitoring needs may require. So that's basically what I have today. So why don't we go ahead and see about opening up to if anybody has any questions on how the flat file monitoring works.
And by the way, you can raise your hand on the console there if you want to be unmuted and speak your question. But you can also there's a questions section that you can just type it in there as well. And I see we have a question. Do you have a description for the varbind configuration for the generated trap? That is actually in that model that Bill talked about. The trap mask will show the varbinds broken down Yeah, let's see if we have that in there.
I think I can open it up real quick. I believe this is the one that comes with.
Right.
This is the one that comes with the sample configuration. It shows what the different var binds are in relation to the syslog messages that are coming in.
Right.
So this is the standard one that comes with the sample. I just used a very generic one just to test that I could get things going in and out.
Okay, we have another question. Is there a recommended way to run the LogAgent as a Windows service? I personally did that via just the scheduler, to turn it on and have it start when the system starts, and restart if it dies. I'm sure there are ways to create an actual service. I know there used to be an easy way to do it in like Windows, more current Windows. I'm off the top of my head, don't recall how you do that, but I'm sure there is a way. But just doing it as a scheduled task seems to work very well, and it starts up and runs and works fine. And you can even build yourself a little model that looks to make sure it's running, and warn you if it stops or something like that, or restart it, that way.
Yeah, since the LogAgent is actually a Java application, I believe there is some wrappers that you can get for standard Java applications that will allow you to wrap it in a service type situation. The other thing is to be quite versatile. We set it up so that you can pass a logagent.properties file to it. And it doesn't have to be named logagent.properties. It can be named bob.properties or application1.properties. And so therefore, you can have multiple different property configuration files and run the LogAgent multiple times in order to log or monitor multiple logs on one server.
Okay, I think I see we have a hand raised. I'm not sure if, okay, we have it unraised, so I guess it was the same person that asked one of the questions via, via the utility there. Okay, any other questions? So another question popped up here is, so one LogAgent monitors one file. To monitor two files would require two instances of the LogAgent? Is that the case?
That's correct currently. Yes, you would need to run the LogAgent multiple times, passing it different property files.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Any other questions? Again, we're going to send the information out, and we'll create a link to the actual LogAgent on our when we post this Model Club on our website, along with the recording of this presentation as well. We have another question here. How does it handle log turnover? Does it facilitate it? The log file management, as far as rolling the log file or something like that. That would still be done through whatever is writing the log file, basically. So
currently we're not set up to handle a turnover. If you have rolling logs and are actually monitoring different logs, one workaround would be to set up multiple instances of the LogAgent and monitor all the files concurrently. And if you have a rolling log, then theoretically only one of them is being written to at any given time, and you could handle it that way. But currently there's no direct support.
the person asking the question might also mean, what if the log turns over? Like if there's a dynamic naming concept or something like that, like some logs have, we currently would not be able to handle that unless, can we handle like a wildcard in the log file name or something like that?
Currently not. Currently we're not set up to handle a wildcard, so if it's a dynamic naming convention by an internal rotation scheme by the application, we're not set up to handle that yet. If somebody has a need, we'd definitely be happy to take a look and see if we can do something about that. But currently, we're not set up for that.
Okay. All right. This works for Unix solution as well. Yes, absolutely. In fact, obviously, it's easier to set up the running of these things as a task, you know, as a process in Unix or Linux, Solaris or Linux. And obviously, you can run this as Perl from NerveCenter using the Perl executable there, or not. You could use, you know, the system Perl if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter as far as kicking off
the system listener. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Now we just demonstrated here everything running on one machine for demonstration purposes. Most likely, of course, in the real world, your application log, and the log agent itself are going to be on a remote machine that you're monitoring for, and most likely the syslog listener is going to be sitting with your NerveCenter server, so that they don't need to all be together at all.
Right. And we're using syslog because it's just a pretty good standard, and most people understand it and understand the concept of passing it through security zones and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions coming up on the end? Again, we will monitor or send out everything after this and post it on our website. And as I always mention, if anyone has any suggestions or ideas for for the next model club, by all means, shoot us an email or something, and we'd be happy to talk about it or entertain that idea. We're always looking for new things to show during these model clubs. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I don't see any more hands raised or questions popping up. I guess we can wrap this up. So everyone, thanks for joining, and thanks for being a customer. And look for the next invite for the next model club, which will probably be in another, couple of months, I'm sure. So that's it. We'll end it now, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you all.